7:01, so we'll get started. Call the meeting to order. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we'll go to roll call.
Okay, Jeremy.
Here.
Brenneman.
Here.
Hill.
Here.
Monahan.
Here.
Nelson.
Here.
And Jones.
Here. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Do we have a motion for the minutes from 5/19/2020?
So moved. Second.
Second. Discussion? Going again, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And no bills submitted for payment. So, move down to the public comment section of the agenda. No one for sure, but I'd probably have you come up for this portion of it here. Yep, come on up. I don't want you to miss out. This is one of the last one. Okay. Yep, right up here. Right up here. Make sure Karen's got your name for the name and address for the minutes.
My name is Bud Jensen. I'm here for Mardell Parent Club. We got a problem with the neighbor draining their water on our land, our yard. And it's, well, this whole side of his house, it's got a downspout plugged up so all the water goes down this one little downspout and that runs into our yard. I asked him to change it. He won't do nothing about it. So I was wondering if you make an ordinance to keep them from draining the water, so it diverts the water a different direction. And I got pictures of it.
What's the address? Your address?
Oh.
Your address.
105 North Kingsbury. But this place I'm talking about is on 2nd Avenue, 103 2nd,
Okay.
West 2nd.
Okay, we'll wait a second. Tell me a little bit about the downspout. It's got one downspout that doesn't work, and it's
Well, he's got two downspouts that don't work. They're plugged up. And it all comes over and down this one downspout, and when it rains heavy, it goes into our yard, and I had a pool around, got an apple tree out there, had a big pool around there. And the first time I seen that, I didn't know what it was all about. I had an x-ray and I knew, then I found out what it was all about. And well, about a year ago, he banked up around his house and he plugged up this little spot that it used to drain in. So it comes in our yard now instead of draining towards the street.
Sure. Are you familiar with that area?
I was actually over there last year, but had called me to go over and look at it, and there is, like I said, there's downspouts. So one in the, it'd be the southwest corner back on the homeowner, Jason neighbor or whatever, is the one that actually was taking all the water and it's kicking it in his backyard. And at that time, I just asked Bud if he could talk to the neighbor and work with him and try to get it resolved. And then I kind of thought it was because I hadn't heard back. So.
Sure.
But I know what he's talking about. I'm sure it's doing the same thing this year as it did last year. Just
I
last
guess I
year.
was waiting for you to tell me what to do. And you guys never done anything last fall when I told you about it.
Is there something, do we have any procedure for that? I guess is my question. If facilities, downspouts, all those kind of things don't work the way that they're supposed to.
So we don't have an ordinance about pushing water onto the neighbor's property. I mean, we've talked about it
Sure.
before, there's state laws that don't allow it, so really water issues like that, it all come down to a civil matter, you know, versus a city matter, you know, that the neighbor's gotta fix it upon themselves, but, because we don't have anything in our ordinance, yeah. that
Okay,
addresses
put
that.
an ordinance out.
I know that's what you're asking.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
You
that's what
can,
you'd like to
that's
see,
what you're
Okay, then, that's what I want done.
Right.
Or it has to be done, because I've talked to him 3 different times, and he won't do anything, and I've taken a downspout and hooked up there and diverted the water over where I want it, or where it should be. And he takes it down, twice he took it down, and the 3rd time I put it up there, he must have took it back in his barn or something, because I haven't seen it since.
Okay.
Well, I think that this deserves further discussion, because I can remember my parents having the same issue with a fellow farmer neighbor, and without a doubt, water flow is extremely important, and I thought for sure we had one.
I thought we just passed one, Teresa, or was that just for sump pump discharge? Didn't we just
We did
pass
have
something
some, we
about?
discussed it. Like I said, we've had these discussions many times, because we've had a lot of areas where
Right.
there's been drainage
Right.
problems all throughout town.
Right.
And so,
But when it's a blatant,
I thought we just
from
passed
property A
something
to property B, it really should be self-explanatory. Am I wrong, Craig, by saying it, I mean, I mean, we dealt with that with the annexation.
For the kind neighbor, makes common sense not to be dumping water on your neighbor.
Right.
But I bet you we get, I'd hate to imagine how many calls a year on people between their sump pumps and their drain lines and that stuff coming down. I mean, we get calls all the time to go look at them, and
Well, how come you didn't put an ordinance before this then?
and sometimes there's areas where we've looked at, there's no fix usually, it's just the lay of the land, like you said.
Right.
So we would be taking on a lot. We've had stuff on 4th, North Main, South Main,
Right.
Kaya. I mean, we've had a lot of drainage issues.
Brian, is there anything you can add to this at all?
I get questions about it constantly, and I just tell people that the city has no ordinance. If your neighbor wants to dump his water on your property, the city has nothing in place to stop them from doing that. If you wanna put your sump pump hose 2 inches from your neighbor's property and they wanna run all their water onto your property, we have nothing to stop it. I tell them that they need to look at it as a civil issue versus us, because we don't have anything in our ordinance at all. Correct, Teresa?
Correct, and I think what Mark was talking about earlier was when we did have some pump discussion last fall or
Last fall,
whatnot.
we had some this
But I
spring.
thought we passed something
No,
about nuisance water. Why am I thinking, because when we passed it, I thought about Gaylord Burley, because he always had trouble with his neighbor to the east.
I mean,
Discharging in
we've
the
had the
street.
discussion, but we never.
I thought we passed something.
I thought we put some collection pipes or spots in.
there is
Same
in
deal.
areas, but there's a lot of, some of the original parts of town where we separated streets and water and sewer.
Yeah,
We didn't do any collection there, and there's just storm sewer in a few areas in town that need it.
yeah.
So there's a lot of town that doesn't have any collection points.
Brian, is this the same neighborhood we were talking about last fall?
No,
yeah, no, this would be a different neighborhood.
Which way, north?
Be south.
South side.
South?
Yeah,
South side.
yeah.
You know, but, I think the direction I'd like to go with it is it falls into Mark's ward. And, what I'd like to do is just jot down your phone number and see for a time for Mr. Monahan and I to come out, take a look at it, and see if we can get something on the agenda for some sort of a resolution for you, whether it's an ordinance or even if it's just a discussion with a neighbor, I don't know, but just something to try to get this resolved for you.
Well, the state's got a law, and the neighbor, farmers can't go on, can't put their water on a neighbor. Well, the city ought to do something for the people in town.
No, I hear where you're coming from, because you don't have much you can do with this right now, so that's the way it sounds. So I'd be happy to go out and visit, go out there, take a look at what's happening, and let's take a look at getting something.
That ain't gonna help anything. That ain't gonna solve the problem, just looking at it.
Well, sometimes looking at it helps us decide how we're gonna, if we're gonna put an ordinance in place or what.
Well, we can't do
It sounds
that.
like all the water problem you've been having, you better have something on.
What you're asking for is us to pass an ordinance without looking at it, just, which we could, but the problem is if we pass an ordinance that says that I can't put my water on you, well, everybody to the north of me puts their water on me because I'm the guy at the end of the hill. So, it can't just be as simple as you can't put your water on your neighbor, just because water is gonna flow where water flows. So it's gotta have more verbiage than just you can't put your water on your neighbor.
Ordinance on that pertains to the whole city.
It will, but that's why we wanna look at it to see what issue you're having.
Well, I understand you, but
Yeah.
why wasn't that done before? I can't understand that being a problem.
Because you didn't have time to come down and talk to the city before, so now we know.
Well, I
it's
didn't
another
know
issue.
how I was supposed to do this. I talked to the administrator over there and this guy here, nothing happened.
Well, I think I told you you'd come talk to the council.
You're doing
Well,
good stuff.
We appreciate
I don't
some of that.
remember, I don't remember that. I didn't wanna do that then.
No, I appreciate you coming
Well,
out.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you. Alright, we'll move to visitors section. And we've got Ricky up with downtown Hartford.
Ricky Klutzweiler, downtown Hartford. Thank you for letting me speak to you guys. We sent you a packet again on lighting. And what we're asking for you to do is, we have kind of phase 1 and phase 2. We were gonna do phase 1 just with the lights and then go to phase 2 in the second block. And since we had problems with the lights in the beginning, we kind of just wanted to see what happened with phase 1. All the lights are working now except for the 2 with the overhead lighting. And so, visiting with Craig and Jessica, we kind of are weighing our options, what we want to do. There's no fix from the company. They tried to make an adjustment and they couldn't come up with anything that would work on the lighting. So then our second thought was maybe Craig could make something of his own and put over the lighting, but that doesn't really seem to work either. So our third option is that we would like to possibly move the lights and put them somewhere else, and then just get decorative poles where those 2 are at so that we keep the aesthetic the same. So with that said, what we would like to do is, in your packet, is we would like to get the baskets and the banners this year, and that would be about, with the flowers or whatever we choose to do, it would be about $5,000. And then it would leave $5,000 left in that money that you appropriated to us for phase 2 to put the additional lighting on the second block once we know what the plans for the second block are. Because we don't really know what's going to happen with that vacant lot. We don't want to order 5 lights and then it doesn't work right. So that's kind of where we're at with that. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention and see if there was any comments or issues that anybody has that they'd like to talk about with that.
I like the concept. I think it's good that you've been thinking about a different route with it. Obviously, there's things going on with the streetlights and all that. Those banners you're discussing, some of the cities that have done those, they're really, really well done generally. I don't know what you have planned for design on those. Maybe you don't know yet.
Yeah, we're working on that right now. One of the things that one of the communities did in Montrose is they actually had their downtown committee or their downtown people, or even members in the community, actually posted a banner. So they paid for the banner. So we're kind of checking into that too, just to see how they did that. But there was one for in memory of someone, there was one that was from one of the bars downtown, and so we thought, that would be a good idea to trade out every, because we have to trade them out with every season, so maybe we can get people to sponsor, that's the word I was looking for.
Sponsor, sure.
Yeah, to sponsor those. And then, with the baskets, I guess, we'll have to buy the flowers for those every year. One of the things that I did do, I went to the South Dakota Community Foundation and had applied for a grant. And the grant money we were requesting was for $10,000. I think it was 10, it might have been 20, I can't remember because they changed the rules. But anyway, they sent it back to me and they said that we need to, before we proceed with any other of the other ideas that we have to have an engineering study done. So they told us to go back and ask for that grant money again, but ask it for an engineering study. So we'll be bringing that forward probably in the next year. We're just 1 year old this month, so. So anyway, that's kind of where we're at. I just wanted to bring you guys up to speed, see if there was any issues or any problems you had with it.
Who's gonna maintain the flowers?
Well, we are going to go out and talk to our business people on Main Street and see if they won't help us with that. Otherwise, it's going to be up to the community to make sure they get watered. They do have a water reservoir in them, so we won't have to water them as often. Like every day, maybe every other day, or maybe every week, so that will be helpful as well. But we are going to ask them to adopt a basket, so to speak. So that's kind of our plan anyway.
Is there any liability there, Teresa? Because what I keep thinking about is Canton has those giant flower baskets. They get ginormous. And I'm pretty sure they water them with like a Kubota four-wheeler, and somebody standing in the back of them with a water wand.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't know how high you're proposing these are off the ground, but I'm just curious if the city would have any liability if a business that is sponsoring a basket was injured trying to water a basket that's
Good point.
however high off the ground.
I think we always have liability, just like people walking down the street or in the park. I mean, that's why we have our general liability insurance policy to kind of cover those things.
Yeah, but we don't have people walking on the sidewalk or in the park that are actually maintaining the sidewalk or the park.
True. That'd be a good question I could throw at them.
That'd be my only concern. But I don't know how high. I'm sure you could, if you get long enough, look at Craig. Craig's like, yeah. Craig doesn't want to be out there with a water wand. I'm sure you can get a water wand long enough.
I think it's gonna fall on city staff to water these. Because that's what I've seen. They're beautiful. I've seen them in communities, but you always seen somebody with a wagon and 50 or 100 gallons of water and a big hose, and it's not you. I mean, it's either the parks, park and rec, or whoever. But I'd like to see this addition, but I think that's the concern I have is who's going to make sure that they're kept up.
I mean, in essence, they're the city light poles, whatever put on underneath the city property, so it probably should be city staff.
Craig, how much time have you got into these lights currently?
I actually don't have too much into mounting poles and that stuff. Maybe, I think I did them, I probably had 5 hours maybe at the most into it. I actually have a template that like I made up just to go and drill holes to it and washers to level them up. It went pretty good.
5 hours a month for figuring out how to get them working.
That's because I was not very nice.
Have we talked to Sioux Valley at all about maybe changing the wattage on the current streetlights?
I talked to Tom, because right now these are the higher wattage ones, and Tom said that we want something done that they would work with us on this. We could certainly try to change them too and see if they, just to see what they would do.
Yeah. As you were talking, I was scrolling, I apologize if I missed it, but the proposal here is to add these arms to the existing lights. Are they rated for that?
Yes.
They were designed.
That's the same company.
The same
Right,
company.
That's the same
Okay,
company.
that's,
Yeah, yeah,
that's what I wanted to make sure of, because if we get a good wind blowing through here,
I know.
they all end up laying.
We have talked about all this
Fair point.
extensively.
Good point, okay. And, if we don't talk about it and then it happens,
Yeah.
shame on us.
Yeah.
It's
So,
in there
okay.
too, 100 miles, they're wind tested to 100 miles per hour.
Yeah, I see that, and, that's on the banner arms, but what I don't see is any like labeling, listing. There's no UL listing, it's not this brand name and this part, and this, you know, they're all designed to fit together. I mean, we can cobble stuff together, but, and I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but I wanna make sure that they're
Yeah.
designed to work together.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions?
Back to the watering, Craig, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, if it's council's decision to have us do it, we'll certainly make something up that we put in the back of the gator with a wand and an electric pump on it, so you just go by them and water them.
Have we allocated this money? They
Yeah.
have.
We budgeted 10,000 a year, so they have it in their account.
Need a motion to release the 10,000, or just the proposal?
It's in there.
It's already, it's already there. We just wanted to make sure that the council was aware of what we were doing
They're gonna buy it.
and that everybody was on board. We don't want to do something and then somebody come up and say, you know, we didn't discuss it with us, so.
It was originally allocated for more streetlights.
Yeah.
Correct.
Repurposing is basically what you're getting at, so.
A motion to that or no?
It's up to you, you make it clean if you have a motion.
Firms it up.
Yep, make it clean.
I'd make a motion that we release, amount up to $5,000 for the banner, arms, and hanging flower project on the existing lights downtown.
Second.
Yeah, I think the only question I got on that motion is money's already allocated.
Yeah.
Is that correct? It's really
Approving
the repurpose of it.
Okay. Amended to say approving the repurpose of the.
Second.
2 meetings in a row.
That was
That we're,
second,
we're reallocating funds.
reallocated, but.
All right, we got a motion and a second. We have more discussion? Vote. Brendan?
Yeah.
Jones?
Yes.
Monahan?
Yeah.
Keel?
Yes.
And Nelson?
Yes.
We hope to have them up by July 4th. If that, we're gonna call them tomorrow.
July 4th, I thought you'd say June 4th, what's going on?
Yeah.
Jeez,
I think it's
June
where they
1st.
come from. So thank you guys very much.
Yes, thank you for all the work you do on this. Thank you.
It's birthday month for me, so I'm done now.
All right. Next up, we've got, we talked about this a little bit last meeting, discuss placement of the top street light in Turtle Creek Highlands Edition. Got a little bit of discussion,
Eric
saw
did.
Sam's engineer here a little bit ago.
Yeah, he's here.
Yep. Come on up, you're the next contestant.
I thought I'd leave it for. Evening, my name is Eric Williamson of Williamson Engineering, and in Sioux Falls, I'm the engineer of record for the new Turtle Creek Highlands development, just off Nicholson Avenue out there. Mr. Assam asked me to attend tonight, he regrets he couldn't be here, he didn't want to, he's had an air conditioning issue at his residence, and in light of his wife, he decided that might be, he would send me instead of him, since this is more of an engineering issue than a public relations. Mr. Mayor, I did send you and the council a letter on the 18th of May. Essentially, the request tonight is, as Mr. Assam would like to place a second lift of asphalt on the first phase of the development out there. I don't know if you've been out there, the first lift is on. We understand, you know, the policy that you have had in the past. I just wanted to understand that, at least I don't think you're engineers or any of you might be, but anyway, try and give you a layman's explanation of a little bit of the theory behind flexible pavement. Asphalt pavement is a flexible pavement. In recent years, the city of Sioux Falls has since essentially, they've not completely gone away from it, but they certainly discourage only placing one lift of asphalt. Asphalt as a flexible pavement uses a little bit of the subgrade, but mainly the base course, the gravel, and the thickness of asphalt as the design standard to support the traffic load. And when you leave inch and a half or 2 inches off, essentially compromises a little bit the capacity of the pavement structure. I did speak, and I do want to correct that in here, I did speak with Shannon Verhage today. Shannon is the engineer in charge of construction, principal in charge of construction for the city of Sioux Falls. And we spoke at length about this, but I did err a little bit. Essentially their policy is they would like that lift of asphalt put on right away. It's a structural thing. It's also, there's some detrimental effects for leaving it off over say, winter period. Plows damage the lip of gutter, if you will. That concrete lip on curb and gutter and valley gutters can hit that and damage it. About the only thing more detrimental to asphalt pavement, at least in this engineer's opinion, is water ponding on it. And at your sump areas where, at a drop inlet, where there's a sump where water drains both ways, it drains into the inlet. Well, that water can't get off the pavement into the inlet. The only thing probably more detrimental to asphalt than water standing on it is a loaded truck driving on it before the frost is out of the ground. During the frost freeze-thaw cycle, where, think about it, frost goes in from the top down, well, it also comes out from the top down. So there's that period of time where municipalities set load limits where the frost isn't gone on the bottom and you have this unfrozen layer above it, and driving a truck across that flexible pavement can severely damage the asphalt. Doesn't do anything to the gravel, other than move it around a little bit. So I guess something to consider. Now, one of the things that Shannon and I talked about today that they're seriously considering is, and would really like to implement, it's not maybe all that politically popular, but it makes good engineering sense, is not to allow asphalt to be placed in the same year as water and sewer goes in. And when you put, you're digging it up, you're putting water in the street, you put sewer in the street, you put storm sewer in the street, recompacting those trenches, you put gravel over it. It hasn't had time, if you will, to settle, go through a freeze-thaw cycle. And so it's like, no, if you want to put your water and sewer in 20, we might let you put the curb and gutter in, but you can't put that first lift of flexible pavement in until the following year. And we would like you to put 2 years in. What they have done, and I think Sioux Falls and maybe some other communities that are a little different than you are, is they have a security on the infrastructure that's in place for a period of time until it's completed. Once it's completed, and that is the final lift of asphalt, they release the security, 90% of it. And they withhold 10% of that security for the warranty period. Now in here, I had indicated that they'd extended their pavement warranty to 2 years, and that's incorrect. They still have a 2-year warranty on their underground water, sewer, storm sewer, but the 1-year warranty is still in place, and we reviewed that in their subdivision construction agreement. The 1-year warranty is still starts at the time the final lift of asphalt is placed. Then the pavement warranty starts at that time, and it runs for 1 year. In our situation, we did install the sewer and water, storm sewer last year in 19. Put the curb and gutter in and the gravel. Proof rolled it, which, and again, we're starting to get away from, back 10, 15 years ago, we were doing density testing. We were going out there and bringing in a geotechnical firm to do a density test. Well, that's a spot test here and there. It doesn't reflect the quality of the subgrade and the gravel surfacing on the entire road. They've since gone to what's called a proof rolling operation, which is a loaded dump truck, essentially, that's driven down the road at 1-2 miles an hour on both sides and in the middle, and you watch the performance of the gravel and the subgrade and see, and believe me, a loaded dump truck on gravel, if it finds a soft spot, you can see it. So they've essentially done away from this spot testing and gone to a proof rolling operation, which the city of Hartford we're doing too. We did proof rolls out there on this pavement, and last fall it just simply, it was too wet, it was unstable. It's like, we're gonna pave you for this. Well, this spring, had chance to dry, reworked, re-rolled, it passed the proof roll test really well, no problems, no issues. And didn't, and that proof roll, it finds the soft trenches, it finds the soft spots. And if there are, then a contractor then has a chance to go out and fix those, redo it. And we're not relying on this, oh yeah, we passed a density test here and there and over there, but everywhere in between, it's like, we don't really know. The proof roll, and that's good, and that's what the city of Sioux Falls has essentially gone to too. And in my opinion, that's a better reflection of how the pavement will perform in the future versus, we had a passing density test. So I do like that the infrastructure, the underground infrastructure was replaced last year. Or was installed last year. We've gone through a freeze-thaw cycle. The base on the proof roll was in great shape. In light of the potential plow damage for another year, ponding water in the asphalt, and probably mainly the structural intent of the section. And now we're gonna drive concrete trucks on it, lumber trucks on it, asphalt trucks, whatever, to build houses out there. It's like, it makes more sense to, let's have the full section on there. There's still a year warranty from the time it's put on until the time that you take it over. And if there's problems over that year, obviously it's on the developer to fix. But would just encourage you to maybe talk to your engineers, talk to your street superintendents, and maybe, like I said, there's better information out there on exactly what we're doing here. Understand this process has gone on for years, I don't know where it came from, but there's some engineering sense that makes sense to be able to put that top lift asphalt on. And again, I would say maybe that underground and asphalt in the same year is not a good deal. But once it's gone through the cycle, we think it'll stand up, and we're willing, like I said, from the time it's on, you've got a 1-year warranty on it, and would ask that you be allowed to get that done and start building some houses. Questions?
Eric, what you're asking right now is to have us take a look at basically look at our standards that we have built out there for all of this. Is that correct? You're not asking for an exception for this one time, but you're saying, hey, you've got plenty more roads to put in.
We got plenty more roads to put in. We would like a variance this year to put that in, if that's what I need. but then subsequent to that, yeah, we're on phase one of multiple phases out there.
I think, in the essence of time, we can't talk about this one for the entire night,
I
but,
understand.
I am interested in a, quick summary from Craig and Mitch on, what other communities are doing, and if it makes sense for us to just, have a side meeting on this and talk through, hey, should we be updating what our standards are, and have something proposed out to the council. I'd much rather see something like that. If we're comfortable with this, we're comfortable with it. If we're not, we're not. I don't know that, if we give you a variance, then we might as well give everybody a variance, in my opinion. So, because I don't know that there's necessarily a hardship, that you would have that another contractor wouldn't have. So I would say we're either comfortable with a change to our design standards, or we're not. So I throw it over to Mitch and Craig.
I guess,
Thank you, Eric.
yeah, I guess I'm not convinced that the way we're doing it's wrong. As far as proof rolling, we've been doing that for 10, 15 years or longer. I mean, we've always drove our roads and that stuff with loaders and stuff like that, just loaded to see what they're doing. I've talked to many other cities, street superintendents, city engineers. Some are going the way Sioux Falls is doing it, some are wishing they'd stay the way we do it. I guess I feel like we're getting a good quality road, so I'd definitely like to look into it before we make drastic decisions with it.
Sure.
If memory serves me correct, you mentioned last meeting that the reason that we're gonna be talking about Route and Opal, Opal tonight is because of the fact that we took a shortcut on that, and that's the reason why.
That issue's completely different than what
It
there was
is?
here.
Okay.
Cause the second lift got put on that when the top lift or the bottom lift was dirty,
Okay.
and it caused the asphalt to
Okay.
slide. So,
Okay.
plus there is a lot of heaving there, a lot of areas that from wet, settling and stuff like that, there's a lot of issues up in that road.
Okay.
And that's, part of that's from not having it inspected enough like we are now, so it was one of those things I slipped it through.
Mitch, are you able to speak on what you see in area communities as far as?
Yeah, I can speak to what Eric said. I don't disagree with anything that he's presented to you tonight. Sioux Falls has changed their standard in the past. They did something very similar to what you guys are doing now. There are still towns that are doing what you're doing. I believe Del Rapids is still doing the same thing. There's a few towns that have transitioned. Harrisburg is allowing the developer to choose whether they want to lay or put it down the same year. My opinion is it's probably hard to judge whether we get a better road one way or the other. I would tend to lean on the maintenance staff. If they feel like they're getting good quality roads through this process, then I would tend to listen to what they say.
All right, well, to wrap this up, Eric, I think what we'll do is, I think what I'd like to be able to do is just have a discussion with Mitch and Craig and get a decision over to you whether we're gonna explore this further or if we're gonna stick with the process we have. I don't know that we need to have a motion to do that, but I think we can have a little bit of discussion on if we're gonna explore that further or not. As far as asking for a variance on it, you have every right to ask for a variance on that. I know my opinion is, that doesn't necessarily mean it's the opinion of the entire council or planning board. Any other comment on that, I guess, from the group?
I just had one question. Eric, you said it's detrimental to put the first lift down without the second because you do damage to the.
Absolutely.
But then you went on to propose, which is not popular, you said, but gravel 1 year and 2 layers of asphalt the next.
Right.
But would you still have that same problem with damage with just gravel? Because you'd be going into the winter with exposed curb and exposed water main.
But you can, and that's correct, you're still got that water ponding on the gravel, and damage to the curb, but in the spring, you can rework that gravel. It's not a total loss.
But what I'm getting at is it sounded like you were arguing both sides of it. But really, the only way to get away from concrete damage is to do both lifts.
Exactly.
And you have to do them the same year you did your gravel.
And if you're considering what the engineer is designing on a flexible pavement, which is the gravel section and full section of asphalt,
Well, I'm with you there.
that's what supports the traffic growth. When
I'm
you
with
leave some of that out, that's like, well, I'm gonna do a sidewalk, I'm just gonna put 2 inches in, and then I'll put 2 inches in next year. Or I'm gonna paint my house, I'm just gonna put one color on this year,
No,
next
I
year. I'll put
I
one.
agree with your argument
So,
that,
there's,
I agree with the argument that it's designed
right,
to carry X amount of weight with 2 layers and this much subgrade. I get that. That doesn't fall short on me, I understand that. So I was just curious about the damage to the concrete or to whatever when you're plowing, because you're gonna have damage whether it's gravel or you're gonna have damage whether it's just one lip.
and I don't think you'll see any of your capital improvement projects, Mickelson Road, DOT projects. They don't leave a lift of asphalt off for a year. The other problem that creeps in that I didn't is trying to clean it. Trying to clean that asphalt off to be able to spray a layer of tack oil on it to get the top lip to stick to it. I can take you to any number of areas where there's a pothole, but it's only the top lip. Well, it's like, because it didn't stick, because you got mud from concrete trucks and lumber trucks and contractors' forklifts dragging mud. It's hard to clean to be able to tack it and get a good bind between the 2 lips. So something to consider, but it's hard to clean too. And go look, and you'll see, well, we're getting a little bit of delamination here and a pothole appearing, but it's only 1 lip deep. It's like, what? It didn't stick. And it's hard to clean, very hard to clean dirty pavement, where if you got fresh asphalt and you tack it and put the top lift over it, it's more of a cohesive structure than trying to clean it and put the top lift on a year later. It's just, you know,
To your point,
I understand that.
To your point and to Mark's point, well, if we proceed with this change, will we see a Sam Madison development where sewer and water and all the underground utilities go into an area, and then the next year curb gutter and asphalt go? Because I would hate to see all of that gravel drug onto our asphalt roads. If I lived in that neighborhood, I would want it to sit, the whole development, or that phase of that development to sit without curb and gutters, no houses, no contractors being built there. I'm trying to just think in the future, how do you get that year without dragging a bunch of gravel around your city streets?
Phase 2 of that development, the water, the sewer, the storm sewer is already in. We put it in now. So it can go through these freeze-thaw cycles. We didn't put the ground, but the sewer, the water, the storm sewer is in.
Gotcha.
So it can go, and we probably, we got, I don't know, 30, 40 lots in this first phase. I'm guessing we're not opening phase 2 probably next year. So it's probably gonna be there a couple of years. I kinda agree with Shannon Verhey and Sioux Falls. It's like, you don't put sewer and water in and pave the same year. It needs to go through a freeze-thaw cycle. And that's kind of what at least I'm seeing it as engineering is going to, the civils that I've talked to is like, yeah, because I don't care who the contractor is, they're not that good. They can't get everything compacted. It needs to go through a season of freeze-thaw.
So I don't know how it works in your industry, but is there like white papers, is there some documentation on this that we can have to review to help ballast your discussion?
There's certainly been discussions between engineering entities, City of Sioux Falls, and like Mitch indicated, there's some other communities that are going this way. The City of Sioux Falls right now leaves it as, it's kind of optional. It's more of an incentive thing for the developer. Yeah, they'd like to see it, but it's like, you know what, tell you what, you want 90% of your security back now, put the top lift on. And if they do, boom, they get 90% of their security back. If they don't, then they don't get it back, they hold that. So they haven't changed their ordinance. It's more of an incentive type thing to the developers. It's like, you want your 90% back? Put the top lift on. Does Shannon or Verhey think it should go on? Yeah, absolutely. It's like there's too many detrimental things, the damage to the concrete, the ponding of the water in front of the inlets, the trying to be able to clean it to seal the top lift on it, that outweigh the, well, maybe we'll have to fix a trench and we're gonna have a patch.
All right, we're gonna have to move from this issue. Do we have any motion, any opinion on the council on how you'd like to see it?
I would just like some more information, something other than just opinion or current policy. I'd like to see some factual, but that's my only request.
So no action tonight, then they would have to come in front with a variance request?
If they want to move forward, getting a variance, they'd have to fill out a variance form and get a variance requested from you guys. Yeah.
How long does it take to change the ordinance, Teresa? 6 weeks, 8 weeks?
Yeah, probably a couple months by the time it's fully published and effective. Variance will probably take 3 weeks.
I don't think we apply for a variance. I don't think there's hardship here. It's a engineering common sense thing.
Yeah, I was like, a
It's not
variance would
hardship.
be
It's
hard
not
to
hardship.
justify.
You're thinking about the future.
Right, a variance, you gotta prove a hardship, and I don't think there's hardship here. It's a, well, is this the way you should think about it? Maybe not.
I'd entertain changing the design standards or the way we.
I guess I'd like to see it kind of like Councilman Keel said, just
Yeah.
as I'd like to see the white paper, whatever it is, the pros and the
Yeah.
cons, and just like to be able to see the whole works.
What I was gonna say about, variance versus, I think what we're really talking about here is the developer has a construction agreement in place, so it'd be an amendment to that construction agreement is what they're requesting. So that's where it actually says that they have to have, the way that construction.
Can you provide that, Mitch, that information?
Yeah, I think what we'll do is, I'd like to just, sit down with Craig so we can talk through some advantages, disadvantages, pros and cons to both those options so we can present those.
That'd be a good way to start.
And I know enough guys throughout the state that I can talk to.
Yep.
That'd be great.
Perfect. That's all.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Running patience instead of.
All right. We're gonna move to our public hearing of special event permit for Buffalo Ridge.
I can't wait for this one.
He's all excited.
Chris, is that? Yeah, go ahead.
Chris Duchin with Buffalo Ridge Brewing. We put a request in for a special event permit. I called in 4 weeks ago to talk about options for utilizing the sidewalks on the main and First Street side of our property there for, I guess, additional seating, activities, obviously open container allowance is the primary gist of it. But we'd like the ability to put seating out there, whether it's picnic tables, tables, chairs, that kind of thing. The discussion at the council meeting there was ordinance or looking into things, and further discussion with Teresa and a little bit of Arden. Decided to go the route of a special event permit, considering that we're only open 3 days a week. The permits are good for 3 days a week, or 3 days at a time, I should say. So the application we put in applies basically would start this weekend through the end of October, allowing the usage of the sidewalks for, I guess, waiving the open container ordinance. And the primary driver behind this, at least at this point in time, is related to the coronavirus going around. We're just trying to allow for more space for our customers to be outside. There's been plenty of news about the outdoor activities being safer, just to better ventilation, sunlight, and all that. So trying to encourage, obviously, we want people inside too, but, you know, our patio fills up as we saw last weekend, the week before, then people start to filter inside, but people are certainly likely to be outside, so, you know, I guess that's the gist of it. There isn't a whole lot more to say other than perspectives.
I would just add part of that is that we would move all of the seating and tables back onto our property every night. It would stay out. on the
Yeah, and do a
sidewalk.
clean sweep and make sure there's no, refuse.
How much would you be blocking? I mean, people still gonna be able to walk by?
I would imagine, so we haven't really put any, like, I don't know how much I think would actually get used, whether we would be, a lot of people want to sit out there, or it'd be a table or two. I guess if there's certain restrictions you'd like to see, we could certainly leave a walk path for people to get by. And you got 66 feet of sidewalk this way and 150 that way, or, you know, if we're gonna utilize everything, we're never gonna utilize that much, we don't have much seating, so. We can certainly address any concerns you may have about that.
I don't think it'd be a matter of if you would, I think it'd be a matter of that you would have to
Yeah,
provide
walk path.
walk path, ADA compliant.
Yeah.
Because Main Street's wider sidewalk than First, right?
Yeah.
You know how wide that is, Craig?
I believe it's about 12 to 15 feet from the edge of the building to the curb.
12 to 15. The sidewalk standards now, what, 4 or 5?
5.
Uh,
You'd want 5 foot of sidewalk
Clear
for
that.
ADA or handicap people.
Please see much bigger. Like I said, there's plenty of space out there, it'd be not a big deal either.
Yeah, I just don't want somebody calling up and saying, geez, I can't get past.
Yeah.
Just trying to walk my dog and my kid,
Yeah, I get it.
you know. And the other thought I had too was, what about, you know, the parking spots in front, utilizing that versus the sidewalk?
Also like a parklet type of a deal, or just blocking them off kind of thing.
Yeah. Sometimes you put a food truck there, nobody can park there anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're not using the sidewalk. I guess if you're confident in the sidewalk, then I'll follow along. I just want to make sure people get through.
Yeah, we can make, like I said, we can make sure people get through it, I don't think that's an issue, we can, because there's 2, there must be 6 foot or 8 foot squares, we can utilize the first one, leave the one closest road completely open, and that would just basically extend our patio out that 8 feet or whatever it is. That's a lot of square footage, I mean, I don't foresee that being, man, I'm just trying to protect our customers and understanding from.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. I mean,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
So,
And along the side, you'd maybe be able to put chairs or benches, maybe,
Maybe, yeah.
because that slopes off pretty, you know.
You'd probably end up having more standing out there than
Right.
anything, if
Yeah.
anything, if it got that busy. But the only time I foresee that happening would be during the market.
Right.
And that's already all,
Yeah, taken care of, yeah.
that's cleaned up and there's no problem there, so. I don't honestly foresee us needing that First Street side, but
Yeah,
if you're gonna go, you're gonna ask for it, just ask for it.
yep, makes sense.
I'd love to be that busy all the time.
I'd make a motion to approve the application, leaving the one, right?
Yeah, code enforcement questions, I would ask if you're gonna make a motion, that part of that motion be that the social distancing isn't followed, that there'd be a possibility of the permit being revoked. The other thing that I wanna make sure everyone's aware of, because I've run into questions about this with other businesses as far as using the sidewalk, that I would expect you're gonna get some more people coming forward wanting permission to do the same thing. I know of at least one I would expect, because they've had conversations with me about wanting to use the sidewalks in the past. So just so you guys are aware of those things.
More than happy to have, come to listen to it.
All right, do your motion.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve the application, leaving that last block, if you will, closest to the street open on both Main and on First Street side, if possible. and to watch and abide by social distancing standards. I'm gonna stop right there.
Second.
Do I need more? Oh, you need less? Back
We'll
off
say
the
just-
social distancing standards? I'm fine with that, that we approve the application with, allowing the Buffalo Ridge Brewery to use the sidewalk less the closest block to the street on both Main and First.
I'll second
Second. The only thing you might want to be concerned about is if somebody would pull up to that first block with a car, they're gonna block a couple feet. I think you want to make sure they keep enough space for ADA
Maybe
compliance.
just
Okay.
word it that
5
they
feet.
leave enough room for
Make a
ADA
motion to
compliance.
say 5 feet,
Yeah.
maintain 5 feet,
Between
when
the
there's
vehicles
cars
and
there
the,
or not.
yeah.
Between
I'll
seating,
amend it to say 5
fixed or
feet.
seating.
All right, hold up a minute, we got a motion. and a second.
We got a motion, amend, and amend.
Stuff going on here, so,
Okay.
so far you got a motion,
Yep,
and a second, you wanna amend your motion?
yes,
All right.
to maintain 5 feet from the street.
Seating, clear zone.
Seating to the
Clear
street, right?
Okay. There's still a second.
You wanna still second that?
Yep.
Karen, how do you feel about what you got there?
We're gonna ask you to read it back.
You can read it back.
Okay. Arden made the motion to approve the application, leaving the sidewalk block closest to the street on Main and First open. Brenneman second. Arden amended his motion to state 5-foot portion of the sidewalk next to the street be left open.
Yep. Is that what you wanted, Craig?
I would say just 5-foot clear zone.
5
Next
foot
to the
clear
street.
zone.
Oh, just 5 foot of clear zone, okay.
They might get more back.
I think that's what I said.
That's-
Oh, okay.
All right, Karen, any other
5
discussion?
foot of clear zone.
Just a
Free.
point, we just amended our ordinance to require property owners to maintain their sidewalk from curb edge to curb edge. As long as this doesn't appear as more favorable to a business owner than a property owner. You see what I'm saying? If I'm a
Right.
property owner, and I get a letter from the city because my sidewalk isn't properly maintained, and then I go down to visit the brewery and their sidewalk, while maybe visible, is cluttered with tables and folks and people. I may come away from that a little bit perturbed.
Does that ordinance require me that I can't set my lawn chair out on the sidewalk and sit there and talk to my neighbors? For the night?
Well, I'm just,
I'm
that's my
not
only
asking,
concern.
I don't know what the ordinance is. I'm not asking.
Are you referring to snow removal trucks?
Storm removal, removal of grass. It was removed, it was just the ordinance we just passed. I just want to make sure that we're thinking about this as thoroughly as we can.
But this is more of a special
It's
event.
very special permit, I agree. Very special.
Travis needs some sun.
Very special. It's a 3-pager.
Yeah.
Just one page dedicated to the dates.
Yeah.
3 amendments.
I wrote very, very small.
You did a great job of getting all that in there, so.
All right, do we have any other discussion?
Yeah, I want to address the social distancing. The reason I didn't want to put that in there was because we really don't have a city policy regarding social distancing. So tough to enforce something that we don't have. That's most of that,
Yeah, that's
why
a good
I
point.
asked for that to get out.
Sure, good point, Mark.
We never had our second reading.
Right.
Hypothetically speaking, are we gonna be all right if the South Bar comes in and they just wanna put a bunch of bar stools out on their sidewalk?
They've already got a picnic table out there.
That's on theirs. They own that piece of property where the picnic table is.
What if they put one on the street?
If they move it out, then they have a problem. But Teresa and I have getting through that, and where it's currently at, unless they've moved it in the last day or two, is their property.
They would be required to come down and get the same permit.
That's why I said, just so you know.
Yep.
that there was somebody else.
He's also got a lot beside his business too that he uses.
Absolutely.
And he's got picnic tables out back.
That's not, I mean, if he wants to do it, he has to come to us.
Right.
Alright, more discussion? Alright, we'll vote. Nelson?
Yes.
Keel?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen. Just one more comment. That lot's looking great, the southwest end building.
Let's start.
Good job. Great.
I think Craig sat in the pickup.
Somebody can supervise
That's a sad day for me.
Oh, yeah, that used to be your spot, right?
That's right. I almost died there too. It's all good. Not, yeah.
What's that story? Okay.
I'll tell you.
Okay.
Alright, next up, we got review, approve the plat for track 1 and track 2 of Hartford Hills Edition.
Make a motion to approve that.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, vote. Brennan?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Monahan?
Yeah.
Nelson?
Yes.
And Keel.
Yes.
Alright, next item is review or approve the annexation petition and resolution for 2020-7.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion. And then we'll vote. Keel?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Monahan?
Yeah.
Jones?
Yes.
And Brennan?
Yes.
We have resolution 2020-8, which is the discretionary formula for taxation on certain property within city limits. And give it a little background on this one, unless we have a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Discussion. We'll vote. Brennan?
Yeah.
Don't know. Monahan?
Yeah.
Jones?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Keel?
Yes.
Alright, now we got ordinance 688, revised title 12 of the municipal ordinance for
To approve ordinance 38.
Second.
discussion. Vote. Jones?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Keel?
Yes.
Monahan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Deputy Ryan's not here tonight.
No, he came in, today and said that he's not gonna be able to make the meeting. He'll try to make the second meeting. He, of course, was up late last night. What's going on, so.
No.
He's coming off of 2 12-hour shifts, so he will try to make the second meeting if possible.
Gotcha.
No, Monday. Tuesday.
Go ahead.
He just, though, you know, under his report, he did want to discuss the golf cart ordinance a little bit, and so he just kind of wanted me to feel the temperature of you guys, let you guys know basically that they've been having some issues, mainly with, several riders upon the golf cart. They are actually getting complaints called into them, officers have been stopping some kind of unsafe situations. A couple that he personally has done, I believe it is, one was with a dad and 4 kids and a dog, all on a golf cart with just 1 seat on it. They had another officer stop a guy that had a little toddler on his lap and then 2 kids standing up hanging off. So what he's basically wants the council to consider, and nothing needs to be done at this meeting since he isn't here, but every golf cart has a manufacturer's plate on it, and on it it says basically kind of like a capacity, a maximum number of people that you can have on that. And so if an officer thinks something is unsafe, they would be able to stop the golf cart, see what that number of people is, and if they're over it, you know, they would not say that they would issue a ticket, could if it was, you know, really a situation, but they would be able to have something in ordinance to say, hey, you can't be over, you know, what the number that is specified for your golf cart driving it. So, it's something that he wants the council to just think about and consider. We don't have anything currently in our golf cart ordinance about a maximum number of people on there, and, they're just seeing more and more of several people on one cart, and it's becoming unsafe, because a lot of them are kids, he says, so.
Did he say anything about juveniles driving while driver's license?
They've had those situations too, yeah.
So how does he enforce that?
Most of the time, they,
You have to be a licensed driver.
yes. I
It
would
says
say-
that.
Yeah, I know that's what you're supposed to,
And a penalty or two.
but how has he been handling it?
Yeah, as far as I know, I don't know any tickets that have been issued. I know a couple times in the past, they have sent them straight home, or they've called their parents. I'm not aware of any tickets, though, he would have more information.
Because the only ones I see are the guys that are golfing, or 6 juveniles, all under the age of probably 12, hanging on the sides and the back and having a great time. Those are the ones I see.
I can tell you, out doing my patrols and talk to Teresa about it, I see it all the time. And I see it with adults. I stopped an individual, he was flying down South Main. He had a little tiny kid bounced on one knee like this, and he had 2 5-year-olds that were hanging off the back, one on each side, and flying down the street. And I see it all the time with what Mark's talking about, like young kids are driving them. I also see plenty of adults that have situations where it's not safe, you know. In my opinion, I think we're just plain old that dumb luck that we haven't had somebody get hurt in time with the way this is going. So I see it fairly often, so I back up with.
I think we can draw something up that says, essentially defining a seating position, because most golf carts get retrofitted with like the rear seats. So the golf cart manufacturer is gonna say it's only good for 2. Well, if they've got rear seats, then I would think we could say 4. But we'd have to define that somehow. I mean, I would support that, and we don't want people hanging off.
How do you address toddlers or younger riding on somebody's lap?
Again, it's a seating position of the person. So if you got, let's say a standard golf cart.
One per
has
seating position.
2 seating positions, not 3. So.
I mean,
Or you say there's 3 available, I mean, whatever that number, you know, but 3 people, 3 adults and front.
Those are staying outstanding.
I mean, we're gonna be sitting on each other's laps. So.
and I think if you have something in place, it's better
Better than nothing.
than nothing, right?
Yeah, and
You know?
I think if
put
we
something,
could,
there's no standing on the vehicle either while I'm, you know.
Yeah.
I think we could get something in place so that the deputy has something he can at least work with, is what we need.
We can put together, try to do some sample wording and a draft or something, have you guys look at the next meeting if that sounds,
One passenger per seating position and no standing.
something like that.
That goes a long way.
Like I said, that at least gives them, yeah, something, like you said, versus nothing.
So then all 3 could sit in one position as long as nobody was standing,
Hey, you know,
If there were 3 positions.
if there was 3.
What Brian described sounds like the good old days.
Oh, I know exactly what Brian's describing because I've seen it firsthand.
So,
Half the time I'm amazed the front wheels aren't off the ground. And the other half of the time I'm surprised that 4 of them haven't already fallen off of it, so.
No, they listen to the clown music.
okay,
All right,
we'll put
that's
something
great.
together.
You bet, thanks, Teresa. All right, Mr. Steinmeier. Chamber Economic Development Report.
Thank you. Good to be here for the second time.
There you go, you made it.
I know. It scared me away the first week. Couple of them tried.
Whatever.
Well, thank you for having me here again. Continuing to bring myself up to speed on the various activities of the HADF and the chamber. Kind of like drinking from a fire hydrant right now, but you know, it's all about getting that down to a hose and then down to just a cup. So I continue to work hard on those projects. This last 2 weeks, since the last time we talked, continue to work with the different chamber committees to set the budget. So looking to have those on time for submission for August determinations, so y'all have those in front of you. Looking to have that done this month actually. That's our plan. And then working on the different projects for future events, not only this year, but next year as well. So we're trying to get a head start on a lot of that, and then work on the different publications that we put out from the chamber. As far as the HADF, continue to work on a number of established projects that we have in coordination with GOED, Makita, and then different corporate representatives and the utilities companies that we work with for those projects. Have one RFI that we're going to discuss a little bit later, and then had another one that we were made aware of on Friday evening that we're going to be submitting this Friday as well. So that one, very quick turnaround, but we're able to get that one worked on as well. So have two that we'll submit this week. And yeah, other than that, we're just laying some groundwork for more potential projects and researching information regarding other opportunities that we want to bring here to Hartford. So very busy last 2 weeks, but that's good. Well, busy means we're working on stuff and have good opportunities to bring more business and people here to Hartford. So, any questions or anything else you'd like me to go over? I know we're going to talk about more later, but.
No, I think that's it. Any questions?
No.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, good.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. You got my report. We had a couple things I wanted to touch on. We had a meeting here just with a smaller group prior to this to talk about the direction of the wastewater plant. And so we're pumping the brakes a little bit on our end with the agreement. I understand you guys want to have some discussions. We respect that and appreciate the chance to visit with you guys for the meeting. But I just wanted to mention that you know, we'll follow up with that as you guys see fit. And then the only other thing we have on our agenda tonight is awarding bids for the Opal and Rood intersection project. So you guys should have a copy of the bid tab along with the recommendation of award from our office. We received 3 bids. You can see them listed there: Zacharias Construction, ASCO, Asphalt Surfacing Company, you call them ASCO, Soap Construction. Zacharias was a little bid at $149,820.24. And we're all familiar with Zacharias, a reputable contractor, so we'd sure recommend awarding that contract to them.
What's their time frame for?
They're probably gonna do it while they're doing 9th Street, and when we last I talked about 9th Street, they're thinking right after 4th of July they might start that project. So I expect that they'll wait until that same time frame.
What is our contract?
That contract does have an August completion date, in it, mid or late August.
Okay. Main Street or Route?
This contract.
Route.
There was also date.
9th Street had a later contract for me. I want to say it might be November 1st or late October-ish.
I'm just thinking if I lived up there.
This does have a certain amount of days.
Yeah, and the contract does have.
Only 40 days or 45 days or something like that.
Yeah, and once they start, they have a clock starts on. They have so many days to get it done. I don't remember what that is offhand. But it's not. If they start that early July, they can't leave it open until that August deadline. It'll be somewhere before that, and then there would be penalty associated.
Do we have any motions?
I'd make a motion to award the contract for the Rood and Opal repair to Zacharias Construction at $149,820.24.
I'll second that.
Okay, discussion.
I just have one question, Mitch. Is it common for contractors to have different unit prices on the same thing like that?
Yeah, it's very common. They all might have different subs that
They're-
are quoting.
But, I mean, it honestly looks like they're all playing games with the numbers. They're just moving, they're taking and putting it in different places. Because of trenching, dewatering, you know, Zacharias put down $1.04. And Suka put down 2,500, but then you get down to, you know, placing finished topsoil. I mean, there's a swing there.
Yeah, they're all of them are individually looking at, you know, what their risks are. So, you know, Zacharias might know the area better and not feel that he's gonna have to dewater, so that's why you're seeing probably a low number there. But yeah, it's very common.
But they all do that.
Yeah.
To that point, they could put all their dollars in mobilization, but because it is a contract per item,
Yeah.
we could add a bunch of street to that for $0. So they obviously don't wanna show their hand for every line item to their competitor, and that's why you see those discrepancies.
Well, you've done that once or twice. I understand, I used to trustee and
All right, any other discussion? A motion and a second? All right. We'll vote. Nelson.
yes.
Keel.
Yes.
Brennan.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
And Motley.
Yeah.
With that, I didn't have anything else unless you guys have questions for me.
I think that's it.
I'm just scrolling around, what's addendum one?
On that
On
old
that,
contract.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
We had, I can't remember what went into that, but that addendum was just some, probably a little change that we had. I know we had to change the seed mix on there. And so that just isn't, we issued that while it's out the bid.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Mitch. All right, move to Public Works. Okay.
The only thing that I have to change, basically, Magwater has got it scheduled for next week, hopefully it works out. And then also, the maintainer, they do have it running, they have some final adjustments they're gonna do tomorrow, so hopefully tomorrow afternoon or Wednesday we'll have that back, so.
Because you need the maintainer to make the mag water work.
And we've been, last couple of weeks, every time it's been ideal to blade, the township's been using theirs, and then last week theirs was getting fixed too, so.
Wow.
So we drug them with the payloader just to get some of the holes filled in, and that's all we can do with them, so. But we'll have it back, like I said, this week sometime, so. That's all I got, unless somebody has any questions or stuff.
It's a reman engine in that?
Yeah.
For the 2-year warranty?
Yeah. 2,000 hour, 2
We
years.
did all the other stuff too, the clutch, and did we do all the preventative stuff?
Anything that they had down on there, they sent me a list, and I kinda went through them, had them do a few items on it, but not everything, so some would, a grip on all.
But nothing that's gonna need to be done next year, to take the engine out to do it?
Hopefully, knock on wood. So,
Craig, you had mentioned one time about moving the Vulcan to Hartford, the Hartford
yeah,
sign
right.
on Highway 38. Don't see it on your report anywhere.
I looked at it today, I think we should just get the block on it for now.
Yeah, it looks like it's ready to fall down. It isn't, but it sure looks like it is.
Yeah, no, we gotta work on something with that, to get it moved up to.
What got me thinking, I think it was the Daniel Hager deal, when he was standing in front of a Hartford sign. Yeah, take that Hartford sign.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's on my list.
First impressions.
I like how you have a question mark after downtown lights. I like that.
All right, if nothing else, let's move on. Thank you, Craig. And Karen, Finance Officer report.
Nothing to add. As always, pretty straightforward.
I'm waiting for the time to have something to add.
All right, any questions?
Why don't you add some money?
Yeah. I know, right?
Just once for fun, before I'm done, you should say that a bunch of money's missing.
No.
Just for fun?
Just for a joke, before I hang it up.
I don't think so.
It's a good idea.
15 more golf cart permits.
Yeah, they're still coming in.
There is a bunch of money missing, about 700,000 from last year.
Yeah. There you go.
All right, we will move to Teresa's report.
I don't have much to add that isn't in the packet either. I just gave you, last meeting we talked a little bit about pet licensing, and you wanted to know what other communities do and how their ordinances is worded. Basically, I polled all the surrounding communities, they are all worded just like us, that they have to have the certificate. And a certificate is issued by every vet for the health department that has a date of vaccination and expiration date, and so every single person can get that. So, unless you give me any other direction, I'm not gonna move forward with proposing any changes to our ordinance.
Thank you for looking into that.
Have you advised Mr. Hanson of that he needs to provide a certificate?
Yes. Yes. And I think we ended up having to get it from the vet.
Yeah, I think Rhonda called the vet directly and they got it to her.
We found dumb and he, yeah, we got it. Not going to, we got
Had to
it.
go do it yourself, but you got it, okay.
Yeah, he provided something else, but.
It's going the extra mile.
Customer service.
That is.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think we should bill him. How much did that cost you to go do that?
All right.
Extra service. Anything else for Teresa? All right, if not, we'll move to old business. We've got proposed changes to the employee manual.
I'm gonna give you guys this handout. This is about the third time, we've gone through this, our employee manual, when it was drafted, it was geared to mainly hourly, because that's all we had at that time, but now we have salary employees, so we just wanna update it to clarify, things that apply to hourly, things that apply to salary. I think the main topics of discussion is when salary employees or exempt employees have to use their vacation or sick leave. They do get vacation and sick leave, every employee does, and we don't really have a set policy, or it doesn't say in our employee manual that, if you're gone over so many hours for sick, a dental appointment or out with the doctor or taking vacation, that you have to draw from that bank. We all know how salary works, sometimes you put in, 10 hours this day, but you only put in 6 hours the next day. I mean, that's all a wash, that's what salary is. You put more time in sometimes and less time in another time, but you still get the same rate of pay, and that is salary. So nothing with their pay would change, we just would like clearer definition, especially when doing payroll, is when they are expected to use that leave, that vacation or sick. Last time I pulled other communities, you want information from there, they're all really different, as you can see, there isn't one of them that's the same, so it's really kind of up to the community, There's one that requires that no matter how much time they take, bells, that any leave they take, they have to record it and take from their bank. There's one that it's 2 hours, one that is 4 hours. One goes off of a 40-hour week, if you got your 40 hours in for the week, it really doesn't matter, but if you're short in that 40-hour week, then they want you to draw from your vacation bank or your sick bank, whatever you're gone for. So, like I said, there's no set policy really out there. I think it's up to us, but like I said, just to clarify it for payroll, and so everybody's on the same page, I think we need to do something with our employee manual.
Is there any one of these that stands out to you that you like the most?
I changed the suggestion in here, I had previously 2 hours, I figured we can make that whatever we want. I changed it to 4 hours, because it seemed to make sense the last time we talked about it. If you're gone for half a day, well, then you probably should use leave. I mean, anything less than that, it's flexing out. I would think, that's part of salary, like we said, but if you're gone for over half a day, then you probably should draw from your leave bank, if it's for those purposes, But, so, that's the suggested change I put in there, but.
discussion from the council?
I have some, I was listening to this conversation at the last meeting, but, so, Gabe, do you punch a time clock right now?
I do not punch a time clock. I turn in a timesheet that lists the hours worked each day, and I turn that in before payroll.
So, when you turn that in, does it just say hours worked, or does it say what you were doing during those hours?
It depends on if it's hours outside of normal operations. So like if I'm having a meeting at 7 a.m. for the HADF or the chamber, then I mark that that's why I was there early, or if I was late, or as far as like after 5 o'clock, marking it's a city council meeting or met with chamber members to discuss budget.
But 8 to 5, you don't fill in any blanks?
Not at the moment.
Okay. Did Jesse do that?
No.
Did he never turn in a schedule?
He had a timesheet, yeah, that he turned in.
Basically just his in and out, in and out. If
That's
it was
all
in the
it was, in
evening,
and out.
there was no explanation of evening appointments, what they were, or anything.
Because I guess I would want, even right now with Gabe, because I understand getting documented time prior to 8 and anything after 5. But if he's in town, but not in the office, what's he doing for 8 hours? If it's 8 to 5 and there's no record, if we're only keeping records outside of business hours, I think that's a bad policy.
Are you guys saying an hour by hour documentation?
No, not hour by hour, but I mean,
That's crazy otherwise, you
no,
know.
I don't want him to spend all day writing down, but I mean, there could be bullet points. There could be 8 to 5 bullet points.
But if a salaried employee puts in 4 hours, say tonight's meeting is a marathon, so it's on 5 a salaried employee. He's still expected to work 8 to 5 Monday through Friday.
See, in my mind, I don't think he is.
I'll say, in my mind, salary isn't that way either. In my mind,
Okay,
salary is.
but if he takes 4 hours off to get, say he works 44 hours, or would, but he leaves early on Friday, so he's just at 40, and it puts him at 4 hours.
Yeah.
Then there's what this policy would then say is he has to take vacation time for that, even though he has 40 hours in.
We don't have a policy there.
That's what's being proposed, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, but you just
Where
said
an
this
hourly-
policy would, and I'm telling you, we don't have a policy. We can make the policy say whatever we want.
Yeah, so the suggestion right now has been given to us of 4 hours. If they take 4 hours, they would take vacation, or sick, whatever it is. Okay? So, then he doesn't have that flexibility to only put in the full time. He would then have to take 4 hours to be sick. Where an hourly employee that is required to be at a meeting like this, they can cut out early on Friday because they've got their 40 hours in.
But I would argue that this city's never taken until 11 o'clock at night to get to the economic development director's report.
But what if we have this meeting, and he has an HADF meeting after hours, and he has a chamber meeting, and they have the chamber annual meeting, and all of those things pile up. Because they actually do happen. I mean, those kind of things go on where you're working till late. I guess my take on this is, I like what Teresa's got in here. And I think it should be at the discretion of the city administrator or that salaried person's supervisor to ask for more or less detail on their timesheet as they see fit. If they feel like they know what they're getting, great. I don't know that those bullet points need to be in here, but I think that as their supervisor, they feel like they need that detail, that they should have every right to ask for it. Okay,
So just to clarify, I do share my calendar with the entire office staff, and so I put down all my meetings and where I'm at, if it's an in-town meeting or an out-of-town meeting. So they're aware of what I'm doing throughout the day if I'm not here in the office working on something. And then in my experience, in my past in other places, being the only salaried employee, it operated more on the, if I didn't work the 40-hour week, then I would deduct vacation or sick pay from that to make up the 40 hours. But I mean, so far I've typically put in 46, 42 hours. So I'm working more than 40 hours a week documented. And those hours are just to the city. But that would be in other places, if I only work 32 hours for that 2-week period, then I would either say this is vacation time or sick time to make up to that 40. And so, and the reason why we did something like that is in one of my old spots, we had a series where we would work 3 16-hour days in a row because of events that were in that community. And so I would only work those 3 days and then have the rest of the week off because just worked so much up to that period of time.
And Gabe's very good at keeping his calendar up to date. Well, for 2 weeks anyway, so he's very good at
Teresa, up until tomorrow.
No, I think
He's gonna erase it all when he leaves.
But I mean, he's very good at it, and you keep that calendar updated, that is very good information for me, and you know what they're doing, so I no problems with that. And maybe, and that makes a lot of sense, and that's what Brandon does, maybe it is based off a 40-hour week. If you got your 40 hours in, and by Thursday, you take Friday off, or, you know, without having to draw from your leave, or, you know, if you then.
You can't do that either, because then an employee could use that and work four tens every week, and then they're not available
That's
Friday.
true, and then they're never around on Friday, yeah.
So that can go the other way.
That's true too.
So,
you know, the way I've seen that written before though is that where it says something like, generally the expectation is that you work Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. We understand that this position pulls you outside of those ranges, and from time to time you will, but you know, I guess I've seen it.
Yeah, there is, and it's not one of these sections that we're proposing to change, but there is a section in our employee manual that says what a standard workday is,
Yeah.
Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And maybe it's wording that we expect you to be here the standard workday, unless you have leave, and have filled out a leave request. And so then that way they have to fill out a leave request, has to be approved. If he's got his time in, you know.
And but like, for instance, if he's just loaded down on Jamboree Days week or something like that.
You don't approve
And
the
he's got
request.
his, you know, maybe he takes Monday off because Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, he's gonna be just, and Sunday,
Right.
he's gonna be going crazy.
I think
As
we
long
get,
as it leaves some gray.
I think we get more bang for our buck at the salary rate. I mean, you shouldn't want a salaried employee to become hourly because it's more lucrative. You know, he's gonna get 3 hours of overtime here tonight, or overtime or comp time. And then the others, the hourly staff can take their 3 hours or 4 hours, however they see fit. But Gabe can't, because he's salaried. He can't duck out early on Friday because he's salaried. He's gotta work 48 hours because of those extra meetings. It's a trust thing, is what it really is. And to the point that all this started with, if we remember, it was the buyout at the end. And if anything needs adjustment, in my opinion, it's our sick and our vacation time. And that would be, in my opinion, PTO, paid time off. And you just say, here's your lump sum, use it how you see fit. And then the supervisor has to determine if somebody's abusing their salary spot, in my opinion.
yeah. And my other thought there too is, in the example that he's working 3 16-hour days in his previous spot.
48 hours.
48 hours, yeah. Okay. So if he wants to take Monday off, are we gonna make that person take PTO?
In that example, I would say no.
Okay, so how do we put that down?
That's what I don't think we need to. I think we need to be that specific with our ordinance, our policy. As a little-
I would be comfortable yielding to Teresa's judgment. But I think we have to maintain what he's currently doing.
Yeah.
Because I have a big problem with the way it was. Punch in, punch out, in, out, in, out. Well, what was he doing? Because I don't know. He presented a paper that said when he was in and out, but how do you document that? So I would definitely yield to Teresa's opinion. I would yield to Teresa and Gabe more than that. As long as there's something that Teresa can look at.
Yeah, I'd say you need a point of reference.
Yeah,
That says
a
more
point of
than in
reference
and
for
out.
carrying, paying up payroll.
I wouldn't be opposed to seeing something like what Brandon has, where it says, basically requirements for salary employee, blah, 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 I don't have to read that to you, but, basically puts in a 40-hour work week. Something that also speaks to that standard work day as a general rule of practice, that general work week and general work day. And a third piece that says, the supervisor, the salaried employee can require a detailed timesheet whenever necessary. I mean, something along those lines. Maybe you require it every week, maybe you require it on a week you think he's been just out riding around town, but I think if you have those three things, I feel like you're covered there. I feel, but I wanna know what you and Karen will be comfortable with there too. And you, kind of, but mostly you, Karen.
So for the next meeting, then we'll all three sit down and see what, because, he's been in a similar position before, so he can maybe give us guidance on how it's worked in other communities, so, yeah.
Yep.
So,
He seems, it seems this, what you just described, Gabe, seems very transparent. Here's my calendar, here's where I plan to be.
Yeah.
Here's where I plan to be there, and then here's some bullet points, what I did that week.
Yeah.
If it's outside
yep,
of
and
normal hours.
and that's what we tried to do when Gabe came out, is make it a little
Yeah.
more transparent,
Yeah.
a little more accountable, so.
Right.
And yeah, and it's worked fine, so.
Okay.
Good job, Casey.
I like this one. Yep. I'm afraid
We're gonna get nowhere.
No, not just with you. Me.
No.
Let's do it. We'll move on.
Yeah, but everybody knows where I'm at.
All right, COVID-19, we have several different items in here, pool park shelters, all that good stuff. Start with pool.
Okay, let's start with pool.
Yep.
So our next scenario, the 2 weeks of advertising have really paid off. We have got several new lifeguard apps in. We've got enough to open the pool with. We actually have 2 more come in today, so whether we employ, I don't know if we really need to employ them or not, but me and Amy will go through them tomorrow and interview them. But I think we will be able to open as normal, 7 days a week, the same hours. That's what we're proposing to open. The only thing different that we're proposing is just the 50% capacity, and that's just for social distancing. Every single pool that I got an email from, or we have a managers group we've talked about, every single one that is opening, and there's several that aren't, but every one that is doing the 50% capacity just for a little more social distancing. And so with our pool, that would put it at 95 patrons, which, talking with Amy, that unless it's a really hot day, that's kind of about the normal capacity, that's normal attendance that comes to the pool. So that's not too out of whack. So I think we can do that. There isn't any issues with any of that. Pool parties, like I said, still at the discretion of the manager. I think the 2 things we need to decide tonight, or the council need to decide, is how we want to handle admissions. Cash only, season passes only, take them both like we did before, and do we want to open to everybody, first come, first serve, or, narrow that group down to Hartford residents or West Central patrons, or how do you wanna handle emissions? That's gonna be probably the biggest thing we need to decide.
Personally, we leave it the way it's been in the past.
Just kinda do what we done, just
And monitor if it becomes an issue where Hartford citizens can't use it because everybody from out of town is coming. But even then, if they pay, they pay. They have a right to go in there. It's just because you're a citizen, in order to get in there, you have to pay anyway, so paying, you're paying. If we get into, what do I say?
Could we get in legal trouble?
No.
I don't know what we could.
No, that was posted out in our managers group, and they've talked with a couple of attorneys, and not, we can't because we are not discriminating, this is a safety
That's
issue
what I-
here, yeah.
Sure.
Beresford new residents only.
Beresford, I think, is doing, it's either residents only or the school district only.
One of the two.
One of the two, 'cause I did get information from them,
Yeah.
that's one of the two that they're doing there,
My opinion on it is, and we talked about this a little bit, Teresa, too, is that with the other things you got in place, enhance all the sanitation, I'm in favor of all of those kinds of things there, and the occupancy being 50%. I think we could try to come up with an amazing, perfect plan and not have it even be an issue, and have the plan be more cumbersome than the reality of it. I think we take general admission, we take people who want to pay that day, take them all, and we see how that goes. If we feel like that's an issue, then I think what you could do is you could say, people that own an annual pass can come and line up a half an hour ahead of time, and those are the first ones in. And if you don't have an annual pass, you gotta get to the, then you can get in the back of the line, right? And I think that's what, like, for instance, I think Wildwater West is doing something like that, but I don't even know that we need that until we know we have an issue.
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling just, like I said, do 50% capacity and implement, all the signage and the sanitation, but run it as normal like we had the previous years, just,
Did I see in there, Teresa, you're proposing no daycares?
No, the daycares will be in the morning just like they always have.
Okay.
The last go around, we had, morning session, cause we had limited staff, the daycares would only be in the morning, but now
Okay.
it'll just be what we've normally done, so.
I like Mark's idea, I think we just run it business as usual, only half capacity.
The only comments I've had from any citizens is exactly about that. Is there any way that we can keep it to just, and it's not, I'm not talking a ton, that has been the only comments I've received,
That's my concern.
so.
Come on up, Kevin.
So Jaredson is going to allow people with pool passes in first, and like you said, Wild West. So, and I've heard a few other comments that maybe we should give preference. I mean, if you guys would consider that to people who can buy an annual pass, if there's a line when you open, just to give anyone with a pool pass preference. And then, are you gonna keep power hour for the, okay. That's my comments I had.
And I think after we announce that, hey, this is what the plan is and this is what we're doing, if we did that on Hartford social media and Hartford website first, chances are if you want a pool pass and if you want to be in first, if you do have that rule in place, the Hartford area people are gonna get them first. I don't know if there's probably a few other areas that would not be able to put it.
I don't know if I like that idea.
Huh?
When do you plan to open?
So I'm suggesting, next Monday, June 8th, is probably the earliest, cause I'm gonna need this week, we've gotta get all the guards' paperwork, they've gotta go in for drug tests, which take 2 or 3 weeks. We have to have a training session with them, so I need at least this week to get all that
So
ready.
let's see how the first week goes and put it on the agenda if it's an issue for our next meeting.
My problem with the pool pass has priority would be like the golf course saying you gotta buy a year membership or you have to get to the back of the line if you're just a cash customer. there's just something that doesn't seem right about giving preferential treatment to somebody that can afford a year pass over somebody that just wants to swim for a day, just because. That's, to me, that's picking and choosing. I think that'd just be first come, first served, whether you got pass or cash or whatever you got.
I think you're gonna have some kids that are gonna be able to afford passes, and the best friends are not gonna have them, and one of them's gonna be able to go swimming, the other one's gonna go to the back of the line. Or they're gonna have a relative that comes down, and the relative's gonna be kicked in the back of the line.
I think that's opening a can of worms.
How often is there actually a line when the pool opens?
This year.
Really?
Not like in the afternoon sessions, there's a really kind of lined up
For
for
the
waiting
same
for the
reason,
door to
pretty much
open.
every tea time at the golf course, every day is full.
Right.
People
We
are
mainly
out.
use it at night, and there's always a line. We'll get there right about the time it's opening, and there's a line at
Yeah,
night.
there's just
Hey,
How
Sunday
many?
night,
hot day, there's a line.
Sunday night we'll come in, and we could be back to the sidewalk. waiting.
You mentioned the line. How long, how many people maximum have you seen in that line?
On a Sunday night when we went, I would say there's probably 15 to 20 by the time sometimes, by the time we get here.
Full capacity.
We're near to 95. Okay, got it.
But that's years when Sioux Falls pools have been open.
I hear you. We all know it's gonna change, yeah.
It doesn't pertain to the zero.
All right. Do we have a recommendation or a motion or?
My recommendation is, I make a motion that we open the pool, business as normal, only 50% capacity.
Okay, got a motion and a second, more discussion?
Who was the second? Oh, okay.
I think we need to give the employees whatever PPE they think they need. Whether it's
That's it. Yeah,
gloves
we-
or masks or whatever they.
I'm deciding to go into the bathhouse and have it smell fresh and clean.
Bleach.
You know, is how we have a second motion. I don't know, Craig, whether you've seen any of this, but, the places I frequent, and I don't know whether we have this capability or could get this capability, but the places I go literally have a pump sprayer. And they go in there every so often and they spray everything.
We're picking up something similar to
So,
the one that we
yeah.
did.
Yeah,
I don't know whether we wanna do that or not, but
That's-
somebody could easily go into a bathhouse and spray everything.
Yeah,
At
we're
least
getting
you could say-
sanitizers, a spray thing that it's not a mister, but it
The
sprays
mister
onto the
was like
surface of everything.
$300 to $500, and the chemical is really high.
For a mister?
Yeah.
The ones I see look like a
little cattle, or.
like a pump sprayer for spraying dandelions.
Oh.
Okay.
That's all, they're just a pump up sprayer and.
Spray down the showers, yep.
Probably what it is, they use it for dandelions.
Well, like I said, that's what I'm accustomed to.
Too much.
Yeah.
I was thinking too much.
We've got something that, on order, we have to get picked up, but it's like a hand spray, you just go around, throw it out, so.
Squirting, squirting.
If you have a question, come on up to the podium, we'll make sure Karen's got your name for the.
My only question is, some of them are not opening the slides. Will our slides be open?
Yeah, I plan to open everything. And disinfecting them, the ladders and.
Your name was, ma'am?
Oh, Bobby Winker.
Thank you.
All right, we got a motion and a second, any other discussion? Now we'll vote. Teal?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Monahan?
Yeah.
Jones?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
Here we go.
One
All
question.
right. Go ahead.
Are passes available as of tomorrow then?
Yeah. Well,
There you go.
there you go.
Moving on. Park and Rec?
Park and Rec.
So I sat down, this week and talked with Laura about the Park Rec program, asking what her thoughts is. She think, can we do this? Do you think, are you comfortable doing it? How would we do this if we can do it? She says it's kind of a little harder with Park Rec because you've got a lot of little kids together, for these sessions. You usually do, each age group, they're bigger groups, you know, you can have 100 kids at a time. But she said, you know, if we wanna move forward with doing the park rec in July, you know, I put in your packet, here's kind of the scenario we can look at. She would like to limit it to 30 kids per group, and then she would take those 30 kids and basically split them up into different stations where each one of the helpers would have a station. So then you're breaking them down to groups of 10, basically, you know, that are distanced from each other, so you don't have them all together. She would like to have no daycares coming. Really about the only daycare we have that utilize the park rec is the care program, and they bring a lot of kids. So she'd like to just, you know, if we're not having the care come, not any daycares, just the kids maybe they're sitting at home and giving them something to do. She'd like to do pre-registration at City Hall, so we know how, so we can keep that count, you know, you have to come here to register versus it used to be first day of park rec, you just all go to the park and you register in your big group and whatnot. And it's kind of hard to check, you know, if you're registering so many, it's hard to keep count of how many kids are in each age group. So she's recommending pre-registration, so they have to come here to City Hall. We can make sure that that age group, you know, the 6 and 7 year olds stay at that 30, and then once we're at that, then we don't take any more registrations for that. And then just implementing safety measures like you know, masks for the staff, buying more sanitizer, so everybody's sanitizing their hands. We'll definitely have to make sure we sanitize and wipe all the crafts they're using, the markers, the books, the play equipment, I mean, all that kind of stuff. And then, if there's any kind of inclement weather, you know, sometimes if it's kind of just raining or sprinkling a little bit, they'll all go under the park shelter and still do it. Well, we don't want them all gathering together, so, you know, if it's gonna be rainy at all, she recommends we just cancel, so. That's kind of what we discussed of how we could do the program safely. And that's what she feels comfortable doing. Otherwise, you do got a big, you know, like I said, usually each age group has about 100 kids that is all together at a time, so you've got a lot more kids trying to do one activity all together. And so we're gonna kind of need to split them up if we can do the program this year. And she says it's totally up to you guys. She doesn't care one way or the other what, you know, but she does want so many safety measures, you know, in place.
Do you have enough staff hired to have her for helpers?
I've got enough applicants for helpers for these, yeah. We usually have Laura's the director and then a coordinator that's 18 or older to kind of assist, and then 2 younger helpers. So we've got the applicants already for them. And I had them before COVID hit, and when it did hit and we postponed the program, I called them all and said, you know, if we don't have it in June but could proceed in July, would you be willing to still do it? And so they're all still willing to do it at this point.
I'll make a motion to move forward with what was presented.
Second.
Discussion.
I assume the 30 kids per age group, that's gonna be first come, first served.
Yep, we'll just do first come, first served, and that's why we'll do the pre-registration, so they'll have to come to City Hall, so we can, like I said, to be
How
easier
are
to
we
keep
planning
it.
on, how are we planning on putting that information out?
We'll put it on our website, the Facebook, you know, social media, yeah, like our usual.
Alright, any other discussion?
Too late for newsletter, right? Make the newsletter?
Yep.
Alright, we'll vote. Nelson?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yeah.
Jones?
Yes.
Keel?
Yes.
And Brennan?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's good. Nice plan. And park shelters.
And this, as you know, since COVID hit, we just basically haven't been taking reservations for park shelters, but now that we're kind of opening stuff up a little bit, we are getting some more inquiries about it. Do you guys want to just allow us to start taking reservations? And, you know, obviously, if you're getting a park shelter, you're probably having a larger gathering, but, you know, I guess that to me is up to, you know, the people booking this, their responsibility of how many people they have out there or not. But, like I said, my thought is we open that as business as usual too again.
I think we will,
I agree.
That was the question I had.
Tonight, yeah.
So,
Do we have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion to open the partial reserve.
I'll second. I'll second.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, Monahan?
Yeah.
Jones?
Yes.
Brenneman?
Yep.
Keel?
Yes.
And Nelson?
Yes.
Alright.
That wraps up a lot.
I said, we're getting a little more back to normal.
That's good. Yeah. Thank you, everybody who shared all the social media posts and everything like that for making sure that we got lifeguards hired
Yep.
and everything going there. It's much appreciated.
I seen you, did you post Gabby?
Yeah, a couple times, so I
Yeah.
wanna make sure we got lifeguards.
She's on it.
I thought I seen that, is Gabby in the recruiting business now, or what's she doing?
Yep.
I have a vested interest.
That was funny.
And I told you the other day, I was recruiting the other day too.
You sure did. Yes. This is, getting everyone's attention.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move to new business. Steve couldn't be here tonight. He originally planned on being here, but we've had an opening in planning and zoning since the beginning of the year. And Teresa and Tony and I met with Steve. Well, no, Teresa did. Just Tony and I met with him a little bit last week. I met him one other time before. He actually has a background in quality assurance. He's got a background in airlines and all of that. He's had plenty of different career paths throughout his years. He used to live here in the '80s, moved away for quite a few years, and just moved back in the last 2 years or so. And actually, one of the things that's really nice with this is Steve lives over on the other side of Western Avenue, which we don't have any planning and zoning members that live over there. He's over on Trojan Avenue in that area. So trying to spread out our planning and zoning people as much as we can so that they're from all different parts of town. So with that, I would like to make the appointment of Steve Nolte to our planning and zoning board.
Move to approve, or motion to approve Steve Nolte to the planning and zoning.
Second.
Discussion? We'll vote. Monahan?
Yeah.
Jones?
Yep.
Brenneman?
Yes.
Keel?
Yes.
And Nelson?
Yes.
Okay. And he says he plans on coming to one of our city council meetings. He was on one of the Zoom meetings here a while back. You might have noticed him on there too. But he'll be at one of the upcoming ones here too soon, so.
Okay.
All right, next one, we got the tax payment request on parcel 68839.
Make a motion to approve the tax payment.
Second.
Discussion?
Do we feel this, the way we're currently doing this, provides enough anonymity to the taxpayer? Because in about 3 minutes I found out, I mean, I don't think it does, my opinion.
We're only required to take off the name. I
Is
mean,
that
we
right?
could have even left the address
Okay,
on, but
okay, just
so-
curious.
So you can find out, you have to
Okay.
do a little work.
Okay, well, I thought that several times and tonight I did it, and so I was like, okay, maybe, but it is what it is. So, as long as we're
And
following
you-
all the legal guidelines.
And for the motion, we have to reference the property some way, somehow.
Some way,
so like the
somehow, yeah.
address and the property.
Okay.
Any other discussion? We'll vote. Keel?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Brenneman?
Yeah.
Jones?
Yes.
Monahan?
Yeah.
All right, with that, we'll be looking for a motion to go into executive session for legal personnel and economic development.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hey, I wanna say something as we're on our way out here.
That's 100% over and on.
motion is needed, right?
No motions needed.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.